Today we're going to look at how to autofocus a camera on a schedule. I've got here an Axis P1447, and what I want to do is make sure that the camera autofocuses itself periodically. And so here's how we're going to go about doing that. I'm going to select the System tab, and I'm going to choose Events. And we have a couple of things to do before we actually write the rule. Number one, let's go ahead and create a custom schedule. So under Schedules on the Events tab, I'm going to Add and Create. And let's name our schedule real quick. Autofocus Schedule. And let's repeat daily. Let's say that we want to autofocus this camera once a day, and that's perfectly fine. I'm going to do it at 1 minute after midnight and end it at 2 minutes after midnight. Whoops, I must have fat fingered that. There we go. And I want to do it just weekdays because my factory doesn't operate on weekends. Okay, but of course you can set your schedule daily, monthly, weekly. You see all the choices there on your screen. Okay. Let's go ahead and save that schedule. And again, we called it autofocus. Second thing I want to do, excuse me, is set up a recipient. Now, it turns out in this case, our recipient is ourselves, is the very same camera that we're configuring, and that's perfectly fine. So let me add a recipient, give it a name, autofocus this camera, right? And the type in this case is going to be HTTP because we're essentially going to send a command to ourselves. And this command is an HTTP command. Now I'm going to bring up another window here. This is the Vapix command for an Axis camera when you want to autofocus it. And I've highlighted it here in the center so you can read it on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And if you want to have a look at it, you can certainly, pause right here and copy it for yourself or write it down. And in my recipient, I'm going to go ahead and paste that full URL, right? So if I hit home button, you can see http://. The IP address is the IP address of this camera. If you want to send this command to a camera that's somewhere else on the network, pop in the IP address of that other device, rock and roll. Everything's just perfectly fine. So put in the proper IP address of the camera you want to autofocus. And in this case, I'm going to, of course, put the username and password. Now, what we can do is hit test and see if this command is properly configured. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And it's going to test for me. Now, you can't hear it, but over my shoulder, I heard my camera start to buzz a little bit. And so it's clearly autofocusing itself. And we'll give it a minute to go ahead and finish that process, at which point, tick-tock, tick-tock, we'll get the test. Everything's okay. So we got a big green check mark. We're feeling pretty good about it. I'll go hit save. So I've set up my schedule. I've set up my recipient. Let's write the rule. So I'm going to choose Rules and add a new rule. Whoops, went a little bit too far. Let's name this rule Autofocus This Camera. Okay. And so now I'm going to set the condition. The condition is like a trigger, right? If it was motion detection, it would be, motion happened. If it was network down, storage problem, whatever it would be, you can see we have a whole list to choose from. If I scroll down, I can find the condition scheduled event, and that's what we're after in this case. So I'm going to choose scheduled event. And the schedule that I want to use is not after hours. It's the one that we just created. So from the drop-down list, I'm going to choose my autofocus schedule. And we're set. There's the condition. What action do I want to take? Well, once again, in our drop-down box, you can see, by the way, we have dozens of actions that you can use. Things that, send a picture, send a snapshot. In this case, we're going to send a notification through HTTP. So let's do that. And the recipient, look at that. It already popped it in because we only have one recipient in this camera. So that was a good guess. And when I look down at the bottom of our rule, it's got the entire URL that we've already programmed. So we can go ahead and save this. And now we've created our rule. This camera is now going to autofocus itself on our autofocus schedule, which is weekdays at 12:01 a.m. Okay. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your time.